Put your hands together one time. I want you to get together. I want you to get together.
Hello everyone. Today I want to carry on from where we left off in the previous video, where we talked about Alice in Wonderland. Now, while going through the usual explanation about how Nephilim have red hair, pale skin, etc., etc., I mentioned briefly about the Mad Hatter, and this character of a man in a hat, wearing a very strange, colourful suit of some kind, being in this realm with the Nephilim of some kind. Now, he clearly is a demon of in some way, shape or form, and he is an entity, as I explained, which has been seen all over the world in dreams, nightmares and visions, sometimes visions in the real world as well, by thousands, stalking them, terrifying them, and just generally creating a very negative atmosphere whenever his presence is around. Known as the Hatman, I myself made a video about this character. So if we go online here and I type in the Hatman, you'll probably find links to Heidi Hollis's book, but here we go. A shadow person, also known as a shadow figure or shadow being or black mass, is the perception of a patch of shadow as a living humanoid figure, particularly as interpreted by the believers in paranormal or supernatural as the presence of a spirit or other entity. So he's kind of been lumped in with shadow people. However, the descriptions of him aren't necessarily always in shadow form. However, he can manipulate, or it seems command, shadow people. So if this thing is a demon, then we're dealing with a very high-end elite type demon that has authority over lesser demons. So we could say this character, although not a clown, seems to bear more authority above the clowns which it is around. So could this be what one of the fallen angels may have looked like? Like I said, there's common themes, but if you want to look more into it, the Hatman project here, I think off the top of my head, is probably by Heidi Hollis, who wrote a book called The Hatman, where she had compiled many, many stories that people sent to her. So I think this will be it, where you can send pictures to her. And you can go to this website as well. I'll leave links to see other people's reports. Now, the Hatman, I had a vision where I did see this thing myself. This is way before I was truly awake to demons. I was going through my, what would you call it, New Age phase of psychedelic exploration, and this encounter really shook me up and got me thinking and got the cogs turning in my head, and made me realise I need help and protection if this thing ever comes back. Inevitably, it's just another part of the very complicated, large story that led me to accept Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Saviour in this world, and as the truth. But if you're interested, you can find the Hatman video. It is here. It's in playlists as well on my channel. But I want to get it up because I want to show you the drawing I created of this figure, the Hatman. And this is exactly how I saw it. You can watch this video. It's a full audio-visual description with sound effects and images of my experience and the visions I had and the dreams I had to encounter this being. But here he is.
Appear to be following him.
And there we go. So this is what I saw. It was an entity wearing a purple suit with a large-rimmed purple hat. He was shadowed and blacked out under the shadows of his lapels being turned up, but his eyes were glowing orange, ready at me. His presence was dark. There was a trail of cold steam around him, in some respects warping the atmosphere around him, but he was very cold in nature. And he had these flowing, multicoloured ribbons around him. And I never really understood or made sense of them, but I knew they were a very distinct feature of this thing I was seeing. And he also had a cane, funnily enough. Now, obviously, that was quite a while ago when I uploaded this video, 2015. So, about a year, just over a year and a half maybe, when I had the vision before making this video. Since then, since the clown sightings, I've obviously uncovered that a lot of demons are Nephilim and therefore look like clowns. I've made this connection in these videos. So my research has led me to find other figures of the recurring theme of this Hatman. If not the Mad Hatter himself, like we used as the main example. There are also other figures, so let me find here where I've put it. Now, someone sent me a link, I think it was up north of the 49, to The Conjuring 2, in which there's this character called the Crooked Man. When he appears, he seems to have this hat here, as you can see, and a big wide smile and pale white skin, and this pinstriped suit. Again, another very recurring theme in films and depictions of this particular clownish entity. He has a hat. So going on here through the images of The Conjuring, you have alternative artwork of what it would have looked like before it was released, and you can see here he has this odd looking suit on, pale white skin, and a big wide grin. In the other image is more disturbing on the right, as you can see, but the features are pretty similar. It's this wide smile and bizarre disproportioned body of some kind. Here's the animation from the actual episode. I think this is the one they would have used. But you can see here how hideous this thing is. But how the curlicue is in the eye here. It seems very Egyptian-like, maybe a reference to the old gods. But this figure with a hat and a cane of some kind is what I saw, basically. But or a nuanced version of it, anyway. So going along here, here's someone's alternative artwork at the same thing, the same principle. But it's nothing new. What I saw in my vision had been seen by thousands of people prior, and it's actually been referenced in a lot of things as well. Now, I mentioned Master and Margarita, and a Hatman figure is in this shadow-like figure. Here he is. And this is a book from the early 20th century. During the communist regime, as I mentioned earlier. Here we have this character here, wearing the hat with the pinstriped multicoloured suit. Beetlejuice is another very good example of wearing this pinstriped multicoloured suit of some kind, but this one has wild hair and obviously pale skin like a clown. And he's a giant, funnily enough, in this image. If you hadn't noticed, look how small the house is compared to him. So again, another direct reference here, these tiny people looking up at this giant clown-like figure in a suit. So the suit, a reoccurring theme, something we need to add to the bank of information here, something to keep your eye out for. I'm sure I have another example somewhere of, the Joker, the classic Joker from, Batman. We'll go for an earlier type model or a more comic book theme model, but we're looking at pretty much the same figure here, aren't we? This pinstriped, multicoloured, crazy coloured suit of some kind, with the pale skin and wide grin. He doesn't have a hat, but you could easily put a hat on this figure and it wouldn't look out of sync with what he's wearing. A fedora of some kind, maybe. Call him the Mad Hatter if you want. This idea of insanity, lunacy, psychopathy, a lack of grips with reality type character that brings pain and misery to and confusion to most people that are around. There's been many versions of the Joker created since, as you can see. But it's never a nice figure, and his role is always quite vicious and terrible. But the suit, common theme. Now, I was told to very quickly go over this, but the opening scene to The Dark Knight shows clowns robbing a bank. And these clowns all kill each other in succession as they each complete the task they were there for, until only one remains, and that is the Joker himself. So it implies, I think, some esoterically hidden in this is that demons are willing to kill each other off and use each other and betray each other, so the one head clown can reign supreme. They have no quarrels with being erratic and insane in this respect, so that's something to bear in mind as well when we're talking about demons. Now, I find it interesting, because this Hatman Hatman figure, as I said, is referenced in many other things. The ribbons were a very distinct feature. And it reminded me of something I'd seen in real life, as Morris dancing from the north of England, from the Moors. Morris dancers seem to wear ribbons and bells while dancing in a very silly way. It's quite stupid, really, when you watch it, and boring. But look at the things they are wearing. This troupe here went for the hat, the long ribbons that blow in the breeze, multicoloured black and white lines on the face. This is pretty much what I saw coming towards me with this stick as well. But I had no prior understanding, care, or real knowledge of Morris dancing. It's something I'd seen probably once or twice as a child, maybe. But here it is in daylight, still being practiced today, this entity coming forth into the physical and being revered, manifested in these people. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood people. We wrestle against powers and principalities, forces of wickedness in high places. And this is it manifested, I think. I mean, my dream itself was set in a park, and in a particular park in the middle of Russia, where I, in my dream described, all the signs were in Russian. Here we have a direct reference to a Russian figure in a park, being pointed out, the Hatman with his cane. Very bizarre synchronicities, things I had no knowledge of prior to having that vision and that dream, which sought me to seek it out. But look at some of the things these people wear. Just observe how similar these costumes are to what tribes in Africa wear as well, which I'll get onto in a second. But you can see these frills and these lines and so forth. Then if I go to ancient cultures, which also have their own jesters and clowns, you can start to see similarities to some of the things they wear, like these people here, on a stretch away from what these people are doing here. And they're on complete opposite sides of the world. Very bizarre, very strange. But look at this character here as well, from a tribe in Africa, with the serpent on his head. These ribbons flowing everywhere in wild colours, just like this character I saw in my vision. It's all connected. These are coincidences beyond my own mind. This is literally information downloaded straight to me. It's insane for me, but all glory to God. This is unbelievable. These affirmations for me are incredible, and the more we dig, the more we uncover, the more we get to know our enemy. And if we want to defeat this enemy in any way, shape or form, we have to know what we're dealing with, and therefore what weapons are effective against them. Jesus Christ has saved me from attacks from these entities in the power of his name, so I know that works. Now if we go onto the website for Morris dancing, there's something else I saw, which puts the cherry on top of this, in a way of synchronicity and things I was talking about. There's a website here by a Morris Dancer fan dedicated to explaining Morris dancing. And listen to this backstory, it's so bizarre. He opens up with a quote saying, "As with many folk customs, the origins are hidden in the mists of time and coloured by later perceptions, which may or may not have been correct." Now think about that. They don't even know where this comes from or why they even do it. It's buried in the mists of time and coloured by our own perceptions today. They don't even know where this came from. So we go on to read. It is possible that the word Morris is derived from the word Moorish or Morisco, a derogatory term for meaning little moors, waving hills, let's say. Certainly, in the very late Middle Ages, Morris dancers were sometimes referred to as Morisco dancers, but it is pretty certain that, whatever the origin of the word, there is no evidence that the dance came from the Moors, or entered the country with the armies of John O'Gaunt, or anything of that sort. Neither is there proof of any connection between Moorish dancing and Morris dancing. According to Professor Hawkins, When people recorded these customs in the late 1890s, they were obsessed with seeking out ancient beginnings. Ancient beginnings. In the 17th century, there had been suggestions of a connection with Moorish dancing, and it was adopted as a convenient theory. It fitted in, for example, because some dancers blacked up their faces and attached bells to their legs, which was believed to be something to do with North Africa. I agree. I think this does have something to do with North Africa. The differences are uncanny. Bells, ribbons, sorry about my voice there, bells, ribbons, white is a prominent colour featured in Morris dancing as well. The connections just keep getting wilder and wilder the more I go along. So you're getting the gist. I'll leave the link to this website in the description as well, but you're getting the gist of what's going on here. This form of dancing comes from an ancient idea, a reverence of an ancient customs of the past, when the Nephilim were roaming the earth, perhaps. One origin of this form of dance probably originated in European courts of the 15th century. The dances were colourful, fairly elaborate costumes with pendant sleeves and attached bells. Very little is known about the dances per se, though there seems to have been two types: a solo dance, which circles around a maiden, which could have been a man in woman's clothing, nothing stopping that from happening, for whose favours the dancers compete. But by early 16th century, Morris dancing had become a fixture of church festivals and medieval Renaissance England. The churches brewed and sold ales, and this was a way the churches made money. Later in the century, the Morris became attached to village fetes and May Day revels. Shakespeare says, as it fits a Morris for May Day, and a Whitsun Morris dance. So this character here seems to be dressed in the old terms as some kind of Joker-like figure wearing a hat and a multicoloured suit. So we have a jester, a joker, a dancer, an entertainer of some kind, just like jokers and jesters are to the king and to the people. So it's all linked to the same thing. Now I feel like I'm rambling and repeating myself a little bit here. I'm refraining from going deeper into all these other things, and I have to show you and put it into one video. But very quickly, in terms of the Hatman and the pinstripe suit, let's not forget voodoo religion. The same thing, as you can see. Nothing new under the sun, people. This is obviously revealing or retelling the idea that all ancient cultures across the world have the same archetypal symbols and patterns because they all experienced and worshipped and saw the same things once upon a time, spread all across the earth, which today, from our context, is a distant memory. And all we can do today is caricature these distant memories, and we've kind of lost the meanings behind why we dress and why we have these rituals and do these things and create these images over and over again. We assume it's just, I don't know what people think. I don't know why people don't think about where these things come from. But like me, I think a lot of us and yourself are all seeing the connections now. It's becoming more and more obvious. So we'll leave it there. We'll pick it up in the next video from where I left off, and maybe we'll explore a little bit more about some of these films I've found that people might want me to discuss. But we'll also have a look at the music industry as well, and what some people have been doing, and we still have the fashion industry to look into. It's very disturbing things going on there. So thanks guys, have a good day and God bless. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, it's always appreciated. Thank you.
I want you to get together. I want you to get together.